Hello, I'm Emma Louise Coffey and you're welcome to The Dairy Edge, the Teagasc Dairy podcast. We're bringing you the latest information, insights and opinion to improve dairy farm performance. On this week's show, we revisit the Walsh farm, where John gives us an insight into his farming life, while Brendan explains what sustainability means for their farm.
When it came to 08, there was talks of quotas coming to an end. So I said, we'll do up the milk and parlour. It was a milk and parlour that was there 40 years. And we'll say units added on, but the system wasn't working properly, like, and bits and pieces added on. So I said, we'll scrap it all and put in a new plant in the same building. And it's from there really that might say my thoughts on milk hygiene really took off, like, because you had a new plant, now's the time to do it right. And we did everything right. We'd say as regards the plant itself, it's a basic plant, no frills, nothing. And what I did notice, I would say in 2017, there was 18 finalists from Dairy Gold, 14 in the national. There was high-tech machines to basic machines, but every one of us had the same thing in common: milk quality. Machine has nothing to do with it. If your routine is right, your milk quality in the dairy will be right. So you can pay what you want for the best machine in the country, but it still might be right if your routine is wrong. So, and that's what I noticed. All the competitors, every one of them had their routine was perfect. Like, some had fabulous cell counts down in the 30s. You know, it shows that. But we'll say whatever they were doing was correct. Like, then when it came to, we knew that quotas were going. We said now is a chance to. They were saying 2015 it went. So from 2012 onwards, I was changing silage pits, doing things that I could do financially that weren't a burden at the same time. We'll say we build silage pits, put them in the right place, so that when it comes to feeding time, everything is in the right place as regards feeding. You're not driving for hours and still not getting anywhere. We did a calf shed 2 years ago to feed calves more efficiently, and you can clean it out very fast, no manual. And then this year now we're doing the major project is cubibles for cows for the expansion, and a proper flow in the air for the cows.
And you mentioned last week that there are 113 cows on farm at the moment. Say, when you started off, how many cows were you milking? Obviously, it has increased today.
It was stagnant at 85 for years. That's all our quota could produce, like. And people say, well, you know, a lot of people bought quota. For me, I thought buying quota was a total rip-off, but that was my opinion. And we had a beef enterprise as well, so that kind of kept cash flow correct. Like, I was kind of just hoping that this quotas would go, and it eventually did. It was worth the wait, like.
And in the future now, where do you see cow numbers going? You know, will the beef enterprise contract on this farm?
Yeah, it will contract, but we'll say Brendan not being at home full time at the moment, but I will go to 130 cows. I'd be nice and comfortable at that. But anything after that, I wouldn't. You know, I'd rather, you know, have numbers that you can manage comfortably without putting pressure on yourself and the system, like.
And you mentioned the number of Dairy Gold finalists and the number of national finalists. And as we look around the kitchen here, there's a lot of framed certificates. So you've been quite successful within Dairy Gold, you know, not to mention the big award last year. Can you talk us through the assessment process that you went through, you know, in the early 2000, say around 2010, and then again last year?
Yeah, we'll say in the Dairy Gold's part of it, we'll say when the judges came, or we'll say from the representing the judges for Dairy Gold, it was basic to see what way you were running your farm, were you measuring grass, all this, and I was comfortable at it. You know what I mean? And we'll say in 2012, Brendan wasn't on the farm that time, I don't think, but we'll say I was happy enough at that time. But last year, then when it came to we had Carina Pierce and Don Crowley, and I said, myself, there was so much information, like compared to back in 2012. We have so much more information now, like as regards milk recording. I said, I'm not going to remember half this. I said, I'd be outside in the field and I'd freeze. So I said to Brendan, when you go to any farm, or what's the first thing to do is to hand you out sheets of paper. I said, we'll put it all down. At least you can read it. And I think a lot of them were actually impressed that you had, I said to him, I couldn't retain all the information. At least you had something in your hand. At least you can flick through it. At least if you freeze, you can read something. And I handed them, they all had a handout each. And they were impressed that, you had some information, that you could give to them, and they could go home and look at it later on. But because I couldn't remember half the things that I was supposed to say. But it went well. And
I suppose the handout is accumulation of records and milk recording.
Yeah, because you can't keep them up in your head and be looking at fellas that you only see in the journal and looking at you see on television, and they're looking at you like you'd freeze. That's the way. Yeah. But I felt more confident. At least I had information in front of me, and you could read it if you were stuck. Yeah,
and talk us through, like, say, what are the main aspects of the farm they were looking at? You mentioned facilities, grassland. Mm-hmm. What in particular were they looking at?
Well, I would say each one had their own. Like Jack had the grass end of it. He was more anxious. He was on charge of the grass, and I brought him down. Like, we were actually having another mini drought at that time, and I brought him into a field. I said, we'll probably cut that because it's going to be stimmy. And he said, hold your horses now. You might need it yet. It shows that you have to use your head, measuring or not, that you might need the grass when you're in a drought situation, which would normally cut. But he was down to earth person as regards that. And I told him what kind of varieties of grass I had and all this. David Leeson then was really concentrating in the dairy and really talking about hygiene, what your routine was. That's what he really wanted. And he was only waiting to see, had you something different compared to everybody else, But as far as I could see, in let's say the two different stages of competition, everyone had a routine. And it's not anything fancy. It's just the routine. And do the same thing and do it right. Don't take any shortcuts just because you're leading it to a match or something.
The idea of sustainability for this farm, and you mentioned a particular focus on the environment. What does that mean to this farm?
To farm profitably without having a big impact on the environment around us, I suppose, on the farm the farm that we have to, and it's what we're kind of doing to do that. Simple things. It's all simple things that can be done very easily on any farm. Just for even rainwater collection, for washing down yards. Simple tank saves an awful lot of money and water as well. We're reusing the play cooler water. Simple things like that. One change we've made now this year, we're using protected urea instead of can. There's nothing extra that we had to do, but it'll make a massive difference in ammonia. The ammonia reduction, I think it's something like 78% over can from using protected urea. So it's simple things like that. I saw a graph on it was somebody giving a talk in the Citizens Assembly on or the environment, I think it was, and there was a farmer, and what he'd up in it was a number of measures that farmers could make to decrease their footprint and increase profitability. So if every farmer targeted them, it's a win-win. And it can be done very, very easily. It's just a case of, I suppose, becoming knowledgeable on it and I suppose putting the knowledge to use then after that.
And if we focus on, the dairy enterprise on this farm, it's the main enterprise, what do you view as sustainable in terms of, say, stocking rate? Stocking rate is probably one of the biggest drivers of, productivity and profitability within systems. What dictates stocking rate? I suppose we'd be going on the guidelines from Teagasc around the kind of the 2.5 to 2.8. Probably 2.7 is our marker. Due to drought, I don't think we'll be able to grow
I suppose, grow enough grass throughout the summer if we maybe go any higher, because drought is a big issue here. And if we are to go higher, that means putting more silage and imported feed into it, and then we're heading in the wrong direction then, as regards profitability and sustainability.
And picking up on the 2.7 cows per hectare, what sort of grass are you growing on the farm?
We're currently at 14 tonne. That's what we grew in 2017. So we'll have to, obviously, to get to 2.7, we'll have to up that a little bit.
So the general guideline coming from Teagasc would be 5 to 5.5 tonnes of grass, dry matter per cow. And, you know, how far can you push it? Would you hit the 15, 16 tonne?
I think we probably can, because there is a couple of paddocks that do need to be reseeded while they're growing grass. They're older paddocks, and when the pinch comes as regards drought, they just fall off a cliff almost instantly. They're fine in the spring and autumn, but come the drought, they're gone. So there is a bit of scope there for reseeding there, and that should see us. So if we're constantly reseeding, which we probably weren't maybe doing a massive amount a couple of years ago, so we're playing a small bit of catch up. But reseeding, soil fertility. We've now, maybe 4 years ago, our soil fertility was quite poor. So year one was pH. So we concentrated the pH. All paddocks are now above 6.1. Year two was phosphorus. So all paddocks are in index 4, 3, and there's 2 paddocks in index 2. And then year 3, which was 2016, was potassium. So now there has been a bit of that isn't exactly where it should be. Paddocks are, I think it's 50-50 between index 3 and 2, so there's a bit of work to be done there. But since then, we've been just topping it up. Both lime, P and K, been topping it up. And that's probably the key in us going from, when I started grass measuring in 2013, we grew 10 tonne up to 14 in 2017.
Dramatic increase, yeah.
Yeah.
And look, to focus on the dairy enterprise, what does that mean for cow numbers? You know, you're at 113 cows at the moment, and you're going to 130. Will you go further than that in the future?
You will, yeah. Which once I'm at home full time, yeah, we will need to. So we'll reduce the beef, and basically replace the beef numbers with cows, with dairy cows. So, because dairying is more profitable, we'll have to do that. We won't get a sustainable income for myself and Dad if we don't, you know.
John, you mentioned Brendan's working off farm, but he's also contributing to, you know, the overall labour input on the farm. We see this is a family unit. There's also Maria and the girls. It's not a one-person show by any means. Can you talk us through the balance in terms of labour on this farm, and, you know, how you're getting it right?
Well, there's certain times of the year, it's especially in the springtime, everyone knows where they should be. Like, I have a local chap helps us as well. I'd say he's been here 7 or 8 years. Brendan milks the cows in the morning, does any AI, and we'll do AI again in the evening. But in the springtime, then, you know, he'll milk the cows, whatever he has to go away. And when Andrew comes, he feeds. His job is to feed freshly born calves. Well, they would have got their colostrum before this, but he would be giving them the second feed before we'd bring him down to the calf house, like as such. And Maria, my wife, and Helena would look after him. If Helena, well, she was in transition journey, she was mad about the calf system, and it worked well, like. But as regards labour, I think I know the girls will be probably going doing their own thing. Claire is nutrition and health science, so she's looking for a job at the moment. So, but Helena's just finished the leaving cert. So, but it's always when they're away, you could get a phone call or text. Did this cow calve? What did she have? But they're always interested. But I know in springtime it's all hand on deck, like anyone, and you know there's always someone there to give a hand when you are stuck.
That's it for this week's episode of the Dairy Edge podcast, and my thanks to John and Brendan Walsh for joining me on this week's show. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, and for more information go to the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie. I'm Emma Louise Coffey, and join me next time for your Dairy Edge.